being born and raised in the mountains of eastern Kentucky taught me a lot of things. Some were good, some not so good, but one of the things that it did teach me is the resilience that the mountains brought you. You know, being born in the late 50s to an illiterate coal miner father and a mother who had an 8th grade education and someone who had brothers and sisters that only achieved to a high school diploma, only one of those did that, taught me that in fact it takes a lot to go into the inputs and outputs it takes in order to understand exactly what you need to do in life around education and what you need to do to prepare yourself and others, especially the next generation, for that. And as a mother and father who didn't understand what college was, and in many cases not even what high school was, you know, it took a lot for them to give me the kind of knowledge that it took to have an understanding of what I needed to do to reach beyond where they were at. My mother always said, boy, if you get an education, you'll learn how to count your money. And I always took that as an opportunity to have economic prosperity if I got an education. What she was really telling me is that, you know, she came from a place in the deep South and she knew Jim Crow laws and she knew the things that she had to deal with around not having an education, the literacy laws and all the things that it took from people of color by others who did have an education or who had the privilege of being white. So she had this belief that in fact education gave you an opportunity to learn and earn and gave you the opportunity to know how to build wealth. My father, who was illiterate and worked in the coal mines, always said, boy, if you get an education, you won't have to break your back in the coal mines. I took that as an opportunity to truly have options. What he really meant was that I wouldn't have to work in the coal mines and break my back. So as this is titled Turning Obstacles into Opportunities, what I argue is that if we have the right inputs and the right supports, we can take a kid like me that shouldn't by all means get to a point of where he's the head of higher education for Kentucky, to get them there and beyond with those level of supports instead of giving them barriers that we sometimes blame them for not being able to overcome. This conversation for me is talking about the richness of the mountains, the way that we can learn even at times when we shouldn't be able to learn, talking about even the things we should be avoiding, the things not to get bogged down with, things that sometimes help us to actually go in a different direction than we need to. And as my mom always said, boy, if you hang out with the no goods, you'll be no good. Fairly often we're finding ourselves now in eastern Kentucky and other central Appalachian places finding that there are a lot of no goods that are keeping us from achieving those things that my mama and daddy argued that we could. That sense of place I had in eastern Kentucky also taught me to love the land, to know how to use it to benefit me and others. So my argument here is that somehow we need to look at the richness that is still there and know how to take advantage of the sense of place and not use that sense of place, once again, as an obstacle to which many of our kids can't learn or overcome. Thank you.